April 25th, 2025. That was the day that me and both of my grandparents would end up leaving on our nearly 2,000 kilometer bike trip down the Pacific West Coast of America. We'd leave from Abbotsford, BC, and would make our way down to Gilroy, California, where we would visit my grandpa's brother, my great uncle. This would be the first video of a 3-part series, each video covering one state: Washington, Oregon, and California. This will be me and my grandparents' bike trip from Abbotsford, BC to Gilroy, California. Well, the day before the trip, we'd get the final things ready and packed up for the next morning. It'd be specifically exciting for my Nana as well because she had never done any big bike trips like this before, so it'd be pretty exciting. We'd test ride our bikes and get a good night's rest before leaving the next morning. Well, tomorrow morning I'll be leaving with my grandparents. We are riding our bikes to California, me and my grandparents, so should be quite the adventure. Well, it is the morning. Bike is loaded down. Getting ready to get on the road by 5 a.m. Finally, the day would be upon us. The first day of riding to America. We'd get our stuff ready and would get on the road. It was quite a crazy feeling. For our first day, our goal would be to make it to the ferries and get onto Vancouver Island. We'd have lots of distance to cover, and we would have to make our way through the greater Vancouver area. We'd make our way through the city of Abbotsford and down the Fraser Highway, starting our trip. After a little while, we would eventually turn down some smaller roads to make our way to the Tsawwassen terminal. However, only a couple hours into the trip, we would run into some bike issues with my grandpa's rear wheel, a couple spokes breaking. He'd fix them for now before we would continue on. A bit later, we would reach a trail that would take us right along the Pacific Ocean until later in the day we would reach the Tsawwassen ferry terminal and take us onto Vancouver Island. Well, we got a beautiful bike path along the ocean here, so this is awesome. Well, almost at Tsawwassen.
I know! It's not there!
We get to the ferry!
Yeah, there it is. Smiles on our faces.
Yeah. Victoria. Oh. Well, we would finally make it onto the ferry and to Vancouver Island after a very fun ferry ride. We'd be pretty close to our final destination from there. We'd get pretty lucky as we were able to have a place to stay with my parents' old friends, Phil and Anna, with their family. It'd be very great to be able to stay there and have a nice place to stay for the first night. It was at their place that my grandpa also discovered tonic water from Anna, which would help with cramps, which became a very big part of the trip later on. Because of my grandpa's rear tire issues as well, we would end up staying an extra day to get that taken care of, which we are also very thankful for Phil driving us around Victoria and also showing us around a bit. Eventually, we would get everything ready before the next day after that, which we would be taking the ferry from Victoria, BC, crossing the American border and entering America at Port Angeles, Washington. Well, got Grandpa's bike fixed. New rim, so it should be good the rest of the way. Get my stuff loaded. It's Nana's bike. Be on the road tomorrow morning, hopefully getting to Washington. And very big thanks to Phil and Anna for having us here. It is amazing. Day 3. It finally felt like we could get on the road for real this time and enter America. We'd have everything we need and would make our way into the Victoria area to catch the ferry from the downtown area. It'd be a beautiful ride in the morning, taking trails nearly the whole way. We would eventually make it to the ferry terminal early before eventually getting onto the ferry and leaving the last bit we would see of Canada of our trip. Well, we are in downtown Victoria. About to get to the ferries. After departing, we'd have about an hour and a half ferry ride to Port Angeles, Washington. We'd finally enter America. Going through customs went very smooth, and we'd finally be in unfamiliar territory. We'd have a beautiful view of the Olympic Mountains, and we would stop at Subway in Port Angeles before continuing on our way through town and eventually west towards the west side of the Olympic Peninsula. Alright, well, we'll be getting onto the 101 highway along the coast. Holy cow. 53 miles until Forks, 163 till Aberdeen. Aberdeen! Oh. Oh well. Olympic National Park, Elwha Valley. That's something. After quite a long day, it felt like our campground for the night would start to come within reach on the far end of Crescent Lake, which would be a beautiful lake on the northern part of the Olympic Peninsula. It'd be a long ride and a bit of a struggle to get there near the end, but we would finally make it to the campground, where we'd have a nice little fire and set up our camp for the first time of the trip. Campground we'll try to make it to today. Here we are.
Yeah.
Well, getting camp set up here. that is it for today. Pretty good day. See where we get to tomorrow. Well, day 4, our second day in America and our first night over with. We pack our things and get on the road. Right off the bat, we would have the biggest hill of our trip yet to start off the day. Our main goal of the day, though, would be to pass through the town of Forks, which we would do a little bit later. Before we would reach the town, though, we would pass through the beautiful scenery of the Olympic Peninsula and Olympic National Forests and National Park. Yeah, but nothing between Forks and Aberdeen. Shortly after a small gas station stop where I found a new sticker for my bike, we would reach the town of Forks. It was a nice small town and we were able to have some lunch and get a bit more food for later. However, shortly after the town of Forks, it would start to rain a decent bit. Because of this, we decided to do a bit of a shorter day, set up camp, and try to stay dry the best we could. It'd be a pretty relaxing evening at the campground after we would set up our camp for the night. Yeah. Well, our campground for tonight should be quite nice. So, I'm gonna get set up here. Well, still raining here in the morning, but I think I'm gonna get packed up and get on the road in an hour or two here, so would be good. Well, day 5 since leaving Abbotsford, day 3 in America. About to get on the highway. So, should be, fingers crossed, a good day today. After a short but very steep climb out of the campground, we would get on our way in the morning. It'd be quite a beautiful ride as we would get to pass through lots of rainforests and we would eventually also hit the ocean again. After a bit of biking, we would reach a beach called Ruby Beach, the first beach where we could look out at the ocean and there would be nothing except water between America and Asia. It'd be a pretty neat sight. Ruby Beach. Well, we've made it to the ocean, the Pacific Ocean. After taking a nice stop at Ruby Beach, we would continue on our way, riding along the ocean for a while longer until the very small town of Queets. It'd be quite the ride. After a short stop at a gas station, we would start to head a little bit more inland towards the campground for the evening, just by Lake Quinault. However, things did not go quite as planned as we would head inland. Yeah, queets. So bike problems today with Grandpa's bike, which ain't the most enjoyable. Well, we'd finally get close to the campground. It'd be about 2 miles off the highway though, and almost all downhill. My grandpa's back tire spokes were going yet again for pretty much the whole second half of the day, which did not make it very nice, and we were barely able to make it to the campground. However, coming to our rescue without even knowing it, on our way to the campground, another biker, Garrett, rode past us and right into the same campground and was pretty much able to fix my grandpa's bike, which was a miracle. He was doing a ride from San Francisco to Bellingham. It was pretty fun being able to share biking and camping stories, and it was also very nice being able to sleep a lot more soundly that night, thanks to Garrett fixing the bike. Well, finishing the big hill in the morning. About to get back on the 101. Day 6 felt a lot nicer with my grandpa's bike finally being fixed. We'd pack our things, say bye to Garrett, and climb the steep hill back to the 101 highway. Our goal would be to make it to the city of Aberdeen today. It'd be the biggest city in a while, so it'd be somewhat of a milestone. However, we'd still have lots of distance to cover and beautiful landscapes to traverse. That. As the day would go on, the skies would become clear and we would get closer to Aberdeen. We'd finally reach Aberdeen, where we would do a couple things. We'd stop at a bike shop and my grandpa got his gear shifting perfect, and I was also able to find another sticker there. We would then go restock on some food from Walmart, which would be the first one we would see in America, and it was massive compared to the ones in Canada. We would then stop for something to eat before continuing on our way. It'd also be neat as we would get to see Mount Rainier way off in the distance, the tallest mountain in Washington. We would have a pretty good climb leaving the city of Aberdeen before eventually finding a spot to camp for the night. Oh. Oh, going up a big hill. I got big downhill, big descent. That's right. Made it to the campground. Very nice. Just camp. End of day 6. Well, it is the morning. 3 degrees out. Chilliest one yet. But we're gonna get packed up and get on our way in a couple hours here. Well, day 7, 1 week away from home. It also ended up being our last full day in Washington State. In the morning, we would end up having quite a few big hills, which made it a bit more tough for me and my grandparents, but Eventually, we would reach the town of Raymond. Well, going up the fourth big hill in a row, but approaching the town of Raymond. In the city of Raymond, we would stop for some lunch before continuing on. However, we didn't make it too far before my grandpa would get a flat tire while we were going up a big hill. It was a pretty tough flat to fix, but thankfully we were able to do it, and my nana was able to rest for a little while we were able to do that as well. Going up fifth big hill of the day. Hopefully we reach the ocean soon. Oh, got a flat. Yeah. Fixed one of the hardest flats ever had to fix on the road, and I'm on my way back up the hill. Gonna let my nana know that we're all good, but yeah. Wow. After the flat tire, we were able to make pretty good distance for the next part of the day. We'd have lots of small hills until we would reach Highway 4, which we would turn down, and then shortly after that, Highway 401. It'd be a beautiful ride riding into the evening. Today, though, would be the one night of the trip where we would not stay at a campground, as there were none in the area. So we'd find a nice little spot off the highway, off of a small logging road going up the mountain. I'd set up my hammock in the bush, and my grandparents would set up their tent just off of the road. Tonight would also be the last night in Washington, finally getting close to finishing the first state. It'd be an eventful night though, as I woke up at 3 a.m. to some people yelling things in the woods somewhere near our camp, where there were no houses or anything nearby, middle of nowhere. It was a pretty creepy experience, but besides that, it would be pretty exciting knowing that we would be entering Oregon the next day and entering the next part of our trip, the famous Oregon coast. Well, there is our camp. We got no service in this spot. Took a little bit to find a camp spot that we all agreed on, but we got that. I'll set up my hammock today. Just going for a nice little stroll up this hill. Here is camp. Well, there's Oregon across that part of ocean. Well, day 8. Within the first couple of hours of the day, we would be crossing the very long bridge that would take us into Oregon. We'd all be pretty excited to finally enter the next state, and it would finally feel like we were making some good progress. The 4-mile long bridge would be quite something to cross, but once we had reached the other side, we would have entered Oregon. Well, about to cross the bridge. Alright, here we go. Entering Oregon. Right. The top.
Ships actually.
Big bridge. I go down into Oregon.
There's no water. It's crazy.
Well, we had finally completed the first state of Washington. It was a pretty great feeling entering Oregon, especially after the crazy bridge. We weren't too sure what to expect for Oregon except for it to be beautiful riding the Oregon coast. We'd encounter some pretty good rain as well as fog, but also experienced the beauty of the coastline and even got a dune buggy ride on the Oregon dunes. It's been pretty special being able to experience a trip like this with both of my grandparents, biking through all of these beautiful places. But for now, that has been part 1, Washington State, of me and my grandparents' trip biking to California.